Please sit down. President McCulloch Lovell, Dr. Andrew Delbanco, Mr. Nicholas Delbanco, Dr. Glazer, Mr. Izem, Emma Thacker, fellow trustees, Marlboro faculty, distinguished guests, and most importantly, our class of 2014. Welcome to the 67th commencement of Marlboro College. I am Dean Nisseper. I am chair of the board of trustees, and I welcome you all here and thank you for joining us in this 67th commencement. To the class of 2014, let me be the first to congratulate you. Commencement's always my favorite Marlboro event. It's wonderful to see the Marlboro community really come together to celebrate and honor the members of our graduating class who have worked so hard and who represent the culmination not only of their own efforts, but also the efforts of all of the faculty, the staff, the trustees, the parents, and family members over the past 4 years. To all of you in the class of 2014, you are about to join me as a Marlboro alum. You will learn the pride that I feel in being a Marlboro alum. And as you go into the world beyond Marlboro, I think you will appreciate what Marlboro has meant in your life and what it has contributed to you as a person. So please come back to Marlboro and again be rewarded by giving to this community so that Marlboro will be as important to students in the many generations to come as it is to you and me. Thank you and congratulations to our graduating class. So I now have the pleasure of introducing to you the person whose leadership over the past 10 years has contributed enormously to Marlboro's financial soundness and long-term planning, and given the college a much greater awareness of what it is and what it can be and will be. The president of Marlboro College, Ellen McCulloch Lovell.
Thank you for your leadership, Dean. When you graduated in 1976, you didn't know we were never going to let you go. Welcome, everyone, to this celebration. After a long, long winter, the lilacs didn't blossom on time, but you graduates did. Post-plan, after orals, in your creative regalia and various states of elation and fatigue, whatever your state, take an appreciative look around you. Commencing the rest of your lives, this moment is for gratitude and farewell. Gratitude for the musicians who marched us into the ceremony, for the podium party, accomplished scholars and artists who offer their wisdom, for the relatives and friends who cheered you on the way to this resounding present. I thank the Board of Trustees who contribute so much to uphold Marlboro College. Please stand to be recognized. College is the place where you find out what you care about and how you learn. It's where you find a mentor. That's what your faculty became. They recognized you, tested you, then saw you meet the goals that you set for yourselves. Let us thank your mentors. Among them is Jim Tober, economist and environmentalist who came to us fresh from his doctorate at Yale and stayed with Felicia and the family through generations of students and numerous calls to serve, twice as Dean of Faculty. He is retiring after 41 years. Carol Hendrickson, anthropologist, author, artist, served as mentor and leader, also a dean. For 25 years, she influenced numerous students on their course of action. When I meet her former students, they tell me they are who they are now due to Carol. say fond farewell to Abdelhadi Izam, our Fulbright Arabic fellow who brightened our pathways and even learned to ski on them this winter. Today, you also say goodbye to so many caring staff who in your Marlboro years helped and befriended you. It's hard to characterize a class at Marlboro, and you defy any generalizations. You didn't all enter in 2010. Some of you are graduating after 2 intense years at Marlboro, some after 6, 9, 14 years. What stories, what triumphs you all represent. You are as young as 21 and old as 45. You include 2 veterans, a sibling of a graduate, a married couple, a son of a professor. You come from London, Peru, California, and Vermont. You helped build the greenhouse. You served on select board. 4 of you earned our certificate in nonprofit management, and 5 the TESOL certificate in teaching English to speakers of other languages. You took out an average of 52 books a year from the library. The national average is 12. Columbia University students check out 45. Of course, our data are probably skewed by Kate and Daniel's omnivore reading habits. 36% of you had an international education, traveling to China, Costa Rica, India, Australia, and other places, alone or with faculty. You put Marlboro in the top 100 colleges for study abroad. It was quite a year, wasn't it? The year of the endless winter when it was still 6 degrees in early March. But you put on your boots and you kept on walking through the April snowstorms. You were tenacious. You possess fortitude. It was the year of the logo and the preservation of the dormant, not dead tree. The year of marketing. You were bold in your insistence that Marlboro be portrayed authentically. The year of debate about what shared governance at Marlboro means. Who shares what with whom? You were seriously persistent. Let me tell you what 2012 graduate Drew Tanabe, who now works for Vermont's Senator Patrick Leahy, just wrote to me. You and I have at times sat across the table in opposition, and at other times worked together side by side. The ability to oppose and cooperate is truly a gift. The year of strategic planning, whether making sure we included the farm, accessibility, or social justice, you demonstrated your force of conviction. It's not surprising that grit, that ability to push against limits, is one of the 9 Marlboro ideals noted in the plan, which faculty expect you to acquire. The year you spent in the plan cave, overcoming your doubts. You changed your work after critiques, crossed disciplines, and designed your own curricula. This spring, I watched you face your fears and dig deep to finish. What struck me most? 3 qualities you demonstrated. The bravery with which you took risks, intellectual and creative. The courage you showed presenting your work and yourself in front of the rest of us. So exposed, so powerful. And the intensity with which you cheered each other on. By now, you've guessed my theme. You are strong. It started when you applied to Marlboro. In his book, Why Teach?, Mark Edmondson writes about the corporate city and the scholarly enclave. He says most of you experienced the corporate city education starting in high school, those production centers that kids check into every day, and what they produce are credentials. And the scholarly enclave, it's harder to recognize. Even in its most ideal, somebody's got to keep the books and pay the bills. It is where we are stalwart in our commitments. Writing well, time in the lab, the studio, and the library. The residents of the enclave, he says, are aware of the enormous gap between what humans aspire to and what remains to be done. Whether you saw Marlboro as the community where we negotiate our differences, the secular sanctuary, or the creative laboratory, you were brave to choose it, going against trend, making sacrifices to stay, knowing you'd be challenged and changed. That takes courage. The corporate colleges claim to encourage students to take risks, but where else but on this creative campus do faculty intentionally teach how to learn from failure? To paraphrase writer Annie Dillard, I saw you jump off cliffs and build your wings on the way down. As Pierce wrote in his student-sourced view book, letting the student make mistakes in order to learn is a crucial part of what makes the Marlboro educational experience meaningful. Those risks in the presence of others resulted in your sitting here today, stronger for that effort. Take these remaining moments together to reflect on what you've accomplished, the risks as well as the praise. Know that you possess the skills you need to thrive. The world needs what you know how to do well. Write, solve problems creatively, see others' perspectives, master knowledge, set high expectations for yourselves and others. Take courage. You will leave this scholarly enclave, this beautiful village on the hill, and as the psalmist said, go from strength to strength. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce senior and scholar Emma Thacker.
Hi, everyone. I am so glad to stand here in the company of my fellow students and friends, faculty and staff, and all of the families that have come to celebrate this day with us, the graduating class of 2014. Our education at Marlboro College is implicitly tied to self-directed learning, meaning that much of what we do is individualistic, driven largely by our own personal interests and curiosities. I think that I speak for many of us when I say that I took an array of classes before moving on to more intimate one-on-one tutorials, but that the dream of individual attention, of the potential to create our own reading lists, to follow our own academic paths, was endlessly intoxicating. The foundations of thought and curiosity surfaced in the classes that I took as a freshman, sophomore, and junior. What I learned in my first 3 years translated well into what would become my plan of concentration. There's an inherent solitude that accompanies the process of creating a plan of concentration. Being on plan demands so much time, so many hours of reading, thinking, and writing. So many hours of editing. Hours, too, are spent processing thoughts with plan sponsors, discussing the academic journey that you, and only you, have selected to embark upon. Plan is what we all often impatiently await. But what is at stake by spending a year so immersed in individual projects? Although the final year of Marlboro, of working countless hours on my plan, was delightful and rewarding, I found myself slowly forgetting the other aspects of Marlboro that make it such a lovely place to spend 4 years. Individual academic pursuits occupied most of my time this year, and I imagine most every other senior's time. Plan became the most important part of my day, always on my mind. But plan is not why I decided to come to Marlboro, and I can now, reflectively, think of it as one stitch in the fabric that is the community of Marlboro College. Where there are so many ways to be drawn into our own academic worlds, there remain simultaneously parts of Marlboro that draw us all inseparably together. Today I want to talk about a particular part of Marlboro that we all share, but may often go unnoticed. We traverse various academic paths, but the spaces that we share quietly bring us together. I came to Marlboro because I thought it was beautiful. I visited for the first time on a snowy, cold day in the month of February and fell in love with the buildings, their roofs caked with snow, the trees covered in icicles, the students' walking paths slippery with slush. I loved how small and humbled I felt standing on this hill, just one of many here in southern Vermont. I continue to feel overwhelmed by the beauty of Marlboro, Vermont. There are mornings when I stand on South Road looking away from Marlboro at the mountains in the distance, and it is so unbelievably gorgeous that I can't do anything for a moment but stare in awe of the place that I go to school. The undeveloped landscape, so rare and so precious. And then there are the spaces that we all occupy, that are beautiful because we all pass through them at one time or another. There is the dining hall where students, faculty, and staff congregate for meals, for town meeting, for events like the annual President's Ball. I can't imagine that any of you hasn't spent time sipping a cup of tea or coffee, gazing out the window at people walking down from Dalrymple after class, anticipating a wave of people to suddenly enter what has been an otherwise quiet space. There is the OP Hill where we sit, engaging in conversation, napping in the sun, playing with whatever dog sits outside the OP for the day. There is the library balcony, which possesses arguably the best view on campus. The library itself, where students spent countless hours poring over books, trading ideas, and pulling dreaded and celebrated all-nighters. Dalrymple, where many of us will have at least one or two classes, where many of us sat in our orals and completed our plans of concentration. And of course, the woods that surround us. The landmarks like the stone circle, and the tree houses, and the trails to be walked or skied in the winter. This is what we share. This choice to live on a beautiful little hill in the middle of nowhere, the spaces that we return to day after day. I found myself forgetting how much I love Marlboro's landscape. And although my life has become enriched in so many ways since my first days here, it is the beauty of Marlboro that remains the most consistent and overwhelming part of my experience. I'm sad to leave this beautiful little hill. I feel such a deep fondness for everyone with whom I am graduating, for the professors, the staff, and all of the students who have years to go. But I'm happy to know that this hill will continue to exist, will continue to hold the spaces that I hold so dear. I love you, Marlboro.
That was beautiful, Emma. You made us cry. And I've been trying so hard not to. Would Nicholas Delbanco and Dean Nisseper please join me at the podium? With nearly a half-century of teaching experience and 28 books of fiction and nonfiction published, you have made a profound and lasting impact on modern American literature. Born in London and educated in the US, with many forays between and further afield, your writing exemplifies a cultural breadth and sensitivity to language that is uniquely your own. A graduate of Harvard and Columbia University, you began your teaching career in Vermont in the Department of Language and Literature at Bennington College for 2 decades. There you launched and directed the college's first summer writing workshops and focused on the notion of a literary community as a fellowship, a guild. Vermont is where you wrote 3 volumes of nonfiction and 11 novels. Vermont provided the setting for 5 of those novels, including the masterful Sherbrooke's trilogy, recently republished together in a revised edition. Your remaining novels range widely, from Provence to Barbados, drawing on your own experiences, adding richness and color to your work in the tradition of Thomas Mann and Ernest Hemingway. Meanwhile, you're... I'm not sure that's a compliment. Is that a compliment? Somebody said that. Meanwhile, your nonfiction has played an exemplary role in expanding the reach of modern literature, earning the esteem of that literary fellowship to which you have dedicated your long career. Most recently, The Art of Youth, Crane, Carrington, Gershwin, and the Nature of First Acts explores the exuberance of artists who create great work at young ages. A bookend to your previous study titled Lastingness, the Art of Old Age. As the long-term director of the MFA program and the Hopwood Awards program at the University of Michigan, you have ensured that a generation of writers receive the greatest mentorship and support. Your generosity towards the careers of other writers as chair of the fiction panel for the National Book Awards and as commentator on television and radio earn you admiration as a writer's writer. Your preoccupation with technique, your very personal, elusive style have been compared to Rilke, Nabokov, and John Updike, your teacher and friend at Columbia. And you have shared this gift in countless workshops and publications over the decades. Nicholas Delbanco, the Robert Frost Distinguished University Professor of English Language and Literature at the University of Michigan, for your craftsmanship, artistry, and originality as a writer in keeping with the mission of Marlboro College. It is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Letters. Nicholas, let's hear some of your beautiful words.
Many, many thanks. I've admired this school and its remarkable president for not merely years and decades, but given our present calendar, centuries, millennia. And it's an honor as well as great pleasure to be standing here. My remarks will be brief, truly so, but I could reduce them even further to 2 words. Congratulations, everyone. Still, the chance to offer a sentence or 6 is one I can't refuse. That part of your curriculum, which is called clear writing, is one I'm aware of and of which I wholly approve. You may not know quite yet, because it's habitual here, how extraordinary such an expectation is, how fortunate you've been to study in a school where close attention to expressiveness continues to be paid, where your teachers are your colleagues and engage in the same quest. It's difficult to say a clear thing confusedly, or a confused thing clearly, though I may just have managed to do so. Take it as an article of faith, I mean, that there's a nexus established between clarity of thought and clarity of diction, and that a thing worth saying is worth the saying well. Since I've been improperly but grandly compared to the poet Rilke, I shall cite him to you. As the great German poet Rainer Maria Rilke said, war ein Dichter, das heißt, hasste das ungefähr. Neither my German nor my German accent is impeccable, but I translate this line to mean, he was a poet, which is to say, he hated the approximate, or he despised the inexact. Clear writing asks you to do so, and it's a credo by which I hope you all will continue to live. Whether your course of study is dance, philosophy, or history, whether you make a life in language, or law, or computer science, I trust the lessons learned will be with you enduringly. That's what we mean by commencement, of course, and the cliché is no less true for being often uttered. The word is oxymoronic, both a beginning and end. May each day be a commencement as well as completion for you all. As you heard, I wrote a book some years ago called Lastingness, about artists in their elder age. And one of the figures I profiled was the great Catalan cellist, Pablo Casals. The Marlboro Music Festival is, as you know, a family affair, and Casals participated in your festival for years. Folks eat, sleep, drink, and argue music in the summer here with an informal earnestness that marries practice to performance, the apprentice and the master craftsman side by side. On July 11, 1970, I learned just now that one of you is 45 years old, but this is before most of you were born, and indeed most of your parents were born. I was here watching Casals conducting Beethoven's Egmont Overture in the Music Barn. He was 93. The maestro was bent and infirm. It took him minutes to walk from the wings, inching laboriously forward, taking small, uncertain steps to the podium and hauling himself up into position as if every movement was painful and might just prove his last. The orchestra waited respectful while he regained his spent breath. The silence extended, expanded. The maestro stared down at his feet. Never large, he appeared to have shrunk. We waited, we asked each other, sotto voce, if he required assistance and should be helped from the stage. And then, of a sudden, Casals raised both arms and was transformed. He threw himself forward, exhorting the players, galvanic, increasing the tempo, wielding the baton as though it were weightless and conducting the Egmont at speed. He showed the brio and athletic exuberance of men not half his age. The fortissimi thundered. The barn fairly rocked. The celebration of freedom over oppression with which the overture and Goethe's play ends was just as sounding and resounding as Beethoven might have dreamed it in June of 1810. When the last note died down, the conductor's arms dropped. He bent his bald head. Again, he looked old and exhausted. Again, he took slow, weary steps and shuffled off into the wings while the hall full of people applauded. All his energy had gone into the music. There was, it appeared, nothing left. Now, I too will shuffle back. My brother is the one, this has always been true in our family, who will do most of the talking. For me, the rest is silence. But let me close by saying that it's doubly an honor to share this stage with Ellen and with Andrew. As his older brother, he's been a very hard act to precede.
Next, I would like to introduce and also award our next honorary degree. As teacher for more than 3 decades, I'm sorry, Dr. Delbanco, please come up. As teacher for more than 3 decades, since 1985 at Columbia University, you have brought a generation of students to an appreciation of the defining themes of American culture and American literature. As a prominent cultural critic, you have grappled with the same themes as they recur in our lives to this day. You learned the value of a liberal arts and sciences education at Harvard, where you earned your undergraduate and doctoral degrees, and where you benefited from the generous time and attention afforded by your professors. You were recognized for your own generous gifts as a professor with the 2006 Great Teacher Award from the Society of Columbia Graduates. Although your books and essays are often about authors from the American past, like Herman Melville and Ralph Waldo Emerson, they are based on the idea that these same authors can offer Americans insight on how to live today. Your books include Required Reading, Why Our American Classics Matter Now, and Melville, His World and Work, which received the Lionel Trilling Award at Columbia University. In 2001, you were elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and named America's Best Social Critic by Time magazine. As a trustee of the National Humanities Center and the Library of America, you have been generous in your steadfast devotion to other scholars in the humanities and their work. Your essays appear regularly in the New York Review of Books. In your recent book, College, What It Was, Is, and Should Be, you defend the ideal of democratic education and the value of a traditional 4-year college experience. You write, and I quote, "A college should strive to be an aid to reflection, a place and process whereby young people take stock of their talents and passions and begin to sort out their lives in a way that is true to themselves and responsible to others." You received the 2011 National Humanities Medal from President Obama for your important work, which has broadened America's engagement with the humanities. Andrew Delbanco, the Mendelsohn Family Professor of American Studies and Julian Clarence Levy Professor in the Humanities, Columbia University, for your dedication to the life of the literary mind and educational ideals in keeping with the mission of Marlboro College, it is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree, Doctor of Humane Letters.
I'm happy to present Andrew Delbanco, the other Delbanco brother, to be our commencement speaker. Andy?
Good morning, students, parents, President McCulloch Lovell, whom I've gotten used to calling Ellen, if that's okay, faculty behind me, but only geographically behind me, staff, trustees, friends from near and far. I really am very honored and truly grateful to be here. I confess there have been a couple of hard acts to follow. The wonderful performance of Bach that we just heard from a couple of students who'll be graduating in a couple of years, and those very lovely words from my brother, which I very much appreciated. I also appreciated that he reminded you that he preceded me not only in the program, but also in birth order. Just, you know, keep that in mind. Let me say right up front that in this commencement season, when distinguished speakers around, or prospective speakers around our country, the President of the International Monetary Fund, a former Secretary of State, the former Chancellor of the University of California, Berkeley, have all been disinvited or driven away by protest before speaking, I feel a little disappointed that you know, not that I'm not glad to be here, but a little disappointed that no one has objected to me yet. But maybe we'll change that in the next few minutes. I really don't mean to be flippant. It's a great honor to be here, and I'm truly delighted to echo Nick in congratulating all of you students on commencing the next stage of your lives, even or perhaps especially if you have no idea what exactly that next stage will be. It's okay. It will work itself out. This is your day. You should savor it and save it in your memory, as clearly wonderful Emma, who spoke for you, is already doing. Everyone here is immensely proud of you, and you have every reason to be proud of yourselves, and I look forward to hearing about your individual achievements and accomplishments later in the program. More particularly, I want to say that you should be proud of this college. Marlboro is one of the most distinctive institutions in the United States, and that distinctiveness is what I mainly want to talk about for a few minutes this morning. To that end, I want to ask you to take a moment to consider what kind of experience other college students in our nation are looking back on during this commencement season. The fact is, you would see very few like yourselves. This, to state the obvious, is a small college. Indeed, one of the great things about Marlboro, I think, is that it has the courage to be small. In an age when so many people think that big is good, bigger is better, and biggest is best. Yet small as you are, the Marlboro class of 2014 represents a significant fraction of all students in the United States who attend a residential liberal arts college that's anything like this one. By like this one, I mean a place where you get to know your classmates, where you not only converge on academic classes together, but share your lives together outside class, where you make lifelong friends, and most of all, where you get an education. Though get, of course, is the wrong word, because you've learned that you must give as much as you get. An education, that is, that's not about prepping you for this or that career, but a help to prepare for life. In this sense, you are truly a tiny minority. The word minority is one we tend to use these days to refer to people designated as different or peculiar by other people for reasons of ethnicity or race or religion or sexual preference, people, that is, who feel outnumbered, even if their numbers are growing. But in fact, you, all of you, as students in a liberal arts residential college, regardless of your color or gender, are, to my eye at least, America's most conspicuous minority today. Now, one of the virtues of smallness is that a college like yours can be what I like to call a rehearsal space for democracy, a place where students and faculty learn to speak with civility, listen with respect, and most important, discover that you can walk into a shared space, whether it's a classroom or a performance hall or here at Marlboro Town Meeting, with one point of view and walk out with another, or at least with some productive doubt that what you were sure of when you arrived, you are less sure of when you leave. And I think Marlboro is really an exceptional example of those possibilities on the educational landscape with your very strong traditions of shared governance and so on. Now, surely an education of this sort is important not only for you but indispensable for our whole nation. I hardly need to tell you that we live today with an endless cacophony of pleadings and persuasions, all designed to capture our loyalty in one way or another, sometimes in the form of money, sometimes in the form of a vote. You all know what I mean. Corporations, political parties, interest groups of all sorts are working 24/7 to persuade us of this or that Obamacare, as it's come to be called, is a ripoff that will bankrupt the country, or that it's an overdue act of justice for those who could not afford health care until now, or that abortion is the work of Satan, or that to deny a woman the right to choose abortion is a form of abuse, that charter schools are a violation of the public trust, or that they are the salvation of a broken public school system, that nuclear energy is clean and safe and our only hope to slow down, if not stop, the degradation of the environment, or that it's Armageddon waiting to happen, as almost happened in Japan a few years ago. Now, that list could go on and on. Of course, these are just a few random samples of the conflicting claims between which we must choose or somehow mediate, because no matter how strong our views and passions may be on one side or the other of those questions, they are serious questions. And there are arguments on both sides. And we need to acknowledge that, I think. In this ocean of noise, the only chance we have to maintain a functioning democracy is a citizenry that thinks for itself and can tell the difference between prejudices rooted in passion and arguments based on evidence. Now, I think it's the hope to send you into the world as that kind of citizen that animates your teachers, the faculty who are sitting behind me here, and keeps them coming back year after year to work with you and your successors. I want to say something as a longtime teacher about why teaching is not easy work. Every true teacher knows that no matter how hard we try, there are severe limits on what any one of us can make happen, even in the self-contained world of our own classroom. Sometimes the sparks will fly and students will catch fire. But sometimes, no matter what you do, no matter how much passion you put into your subject, you find that you're pouring it down the proverbial well. It's as if a third force in the room intervenes between teacher and student and blocks every effort at making a connection between the two. When I think about how the classroom works or doesn't work, I often find myself thinking of the Puritan founders of New England's earliest colleges, which were in many ways the model for this college. I noticed on the way over here that I drove past a more than 200-year-old congregational church. The building wasn't that old, but the congregation apparently is here in Marlboro. Historically speaking. Those Puritan founders believed that this force, this mysterious force, for inscrutable reasons, would touch some people in the church, in the class, and infuse them with new knowledge and insight. They realized that every time they gathered for the not just once weekly, but thrice weekly sermon, some of the people sitting in the pews would be, as it were, watching the clock, waiting for the service to be over, as some of you may be doing just now as I speak. While others found themselves unaccountably gripped by what they were hearing and feeling something changing within themselves, in their hearts or in what the Puritans called their souls. This mysterious third force they had a name for. They called it the Holy Spirit. Most of us, I don't assume that all of us, but most of us don't use that name for it today. But that does not mean, I think, that it does not exist. Now, all of this, I realize, may sound a little cryptic or even weird, so let me try to explain it with an analogy that helps me to make sense of it. Call it an extracurricular example. Imagine it's a Friday night here, and maybe a wintry Friday night here in Marlboro, and two roommates don't have any plans for the evening. And they notice that there's a production of Shakespeare's great play, King Lear, playing over in Brattleboro or maybe down in Williamstown. They've got a car, got nothing else to do. They've heard about it. They decide to go. It's a play, as I'm sure most of you know, about an old man losing his grip on power and dignity and even his own senses. An old man who's been cruelly duped and betrayed by his own children, who ends up wandering alone under the open sky without shelter or mercy or hope. Now, these two roommates go see this play. They sit right next to each other in, let's say, the fourth row of the first balcony. So the acoustics are good, the sight lines are good, they hear the same actors' voices crystal clear, they watch the same props moving across the stage. So by any kind of, optical or auditory measurement, they're having exactly the same experience. But when the house lights come back on, one of them says, if I had to sit here and listen to that old guy whining for another minute, I would have jumped out of my skin. Let's get out of here and get a beer now, right? The other guy doesn't say anything because he has had a devastating experience. He doesn't know why or how, but he finds himself rapidly thinking about his life, about his father, perhaps, with whom he doesn't have such a great relationship, or about the obligations of children to parents, or for that matter, parents to children, or about the savage sadness that comes upon so many people in their broken old age. He doesn't know what to think about any of this or exactly what it's going to lead to, but he knows one thing for sure. He does not want to end up like that old man wandering alone on the heath. The world has changed for him. Now, the point of this little excursion into an analogy is really a simple one. I think it's impossible to say why one of these young men has had a transformative experience and the other has not. It has nothing to do with which one got the higher SAT score, or even with which one is better prepared for tomorrow's exam in the course on Elizabethan drama. It's a mystery, unfathomable and inexplicable. Now, it's my strong impression that Marlboro College is a place that recognizes such a mystery at the heart of education. That's one way I understand you to be, to use the phrase I encountered when I started reading about the college, a radically traditional college. I like that paradox. Sort of, if you go back far enough, it's revolutionary. You're a national institution, also an international institution. You, the graduating students, come from many states as well as other countries. You've had a variety of very different experiences. But you are also, I think, at your core, whether you're always conscious of it or not, a New England institution in something like the sense I've just evoked, in the sense of being a sort of secular church where each member is treasured but also tested, treated as a being of inexhaustible promise, but also as an individual who bears the burden of responsibility for all the other individuals in the church. To be true to this radical tradition means also to recognize that education is not a matter of coercion or even persuasion, but always and only a matter of invitation. This is what a true college does. It puts in front of its students an array of opportunities, as Marlboro obviously does, whether in the form of literature or physics or microbiology or music or the arts or anything that can seize the heart and mind, in the hope that something will catch, something will change the orientation of your life and set you on a path that you may perhaps never have imagined for yourself. No one can say what or when it will be, or that it will have happened with any clarity by today, by commencement day. It often doesn't. That's okay too, because education is a lifetime project. But the true college is based on the faith that there's an incendiary capacity in every teacher and an inflammability in every student. So these are one outsider's thoughts about what I might call the faith of a Marlboro education, that learning transforms your life, that it's of priceless value, and that it should never be taken for granted as a done deal. Now, speaking of done, I'm almost done. But I want to make a couple more remarks about why I think places like Marlboro matter so much to our country today. I'm going to start by another anecdote, if you'll indulge me. I went down to Washington a few years ago to talk to an alumni group from my own institution, and I spoke in something like those earlier terms about the importance of citizenship and being ready to get out there and participate in the democracy. When I had finished, an elderly alum stood up and said something like this: "Professor, thank you. Very nice of you to come down and see us today. I appreciated your remarks, but I think you missed the main point." So I said to myself, you know, Jesus, I get out of New York not so often, and when I get away, it's because I want to get away from this kind of attitude, you know? But here it is. So I drew myself up and said, "Okay, sir, please tell me, what was the main point that I missed?" And then he said something that I will always remember. He said, "College," he said, "taught me to enjoy life." And that really knocked me over. What he meant was that his study of literature and art, of science, music, philosophy, had opened his mind and senses and enabled him to live more fully with deepened delight in both the natural and human worlds. A few years later, a good friend of mine, a former president of Barnard College, I heard her put it this way to a group of students who had just arrived. They were just coming in, not leaving, as you are today. And they were wondering what exactly were they, what were they doing there? And she sort of summed it up this way, making the same point. "Listen," she said, "we all hope and expect you have a long life ahead of you. You want the inside of your head to be an interesting place to spend the rest of your life." I think Marlboro has enabled you to become more interesting to yourselves. That is not a selfish gift, but a gift of curiosity and empathy and openness to the world that collectively will make the world a better place for all of us. Now, I have a certain taste for symmetry, I guess, when I talk, so I do want to go back to where I began about the distinction between this place and what's going on out there. I'm going to offer you a few numbers. I'm not a statistics guy, but these numbers struck me when I first saw them. We live in a country today where if you come from a family that makes more than $90,000 a year, your odds of getting a college degree by the age of 24 are roughly 1 in 2. Not bad. If your family income is between $60,000 and $90,000 a year, and keep in mind that the median national family income is about $55,000, so we're really talking about the middle class, your odds drop to 1 in 4. And if you come from a family making less than $35,000 a year, your odds go down to 1 in 17. Now, I think the only way a person can be satisfied with those numbers is if one believes that intelligence and talent and hope are distributed in the population in the same way as money. I don't believe that, and I'd be very surprised if any of you did. It would run counter to the principles of this college, which was founded by and for, in large measure, returning veterans who had sacrificed for their country and who were able to go to college because of the GI Bill that was passed by the Congress after the Second World War. So as you've noticed by now, I have a taste, like my Puritan friends, for preaching. I'm going to risk a note of preachiness and say basically one more thing. You want to come back to your 10th and 25th and 50th reunions and be able to say that you have done something to make this a country with better numbers than those. I've already spoken a little longer than I meant to, just a little. I want to wrap up with a very brief comment on what a college is or should be, not another formulation or statistic from me, but some words from a writer who was mentioned earlier, John Updike, a great writer, very much in touch with the New England tradition I've been talking about, who was also, as you've heard, one of my brother's models and teachers. In Updike's last novel, he describes an exchange between a college counselor at an urban high school in Rust Belt, New Jersey, and the mother of a boy that the counselor has taken a particular interest in. The boy doesn't want to go to college, even though he's got good grades and could do so. So this counselor takes the trouble of going to the boy's home one evening, finds his mother, and tries to persuade her that her son should give it a shot. And she says to him, "But what would he study at college?" And he replies, "What anybody studies: science, art, history, the story of mankind, of civilization, how we got here, what now?" Your teachers here at Marlboro have done their best to help you with the how we got here part. It's up to you to answer the what now part. I'm confident that you will rise to that challenge. I'm very much honored to have been invited to speak today. For your sake and for future generations, I wish you good luck, or as my Puritan friends would have said, Godspeed. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Richard Glazier. I'm the Dean of Faculty, and it is my honor and privilege to announce the recipients of Marlboro's academic prizes. As I read the names of our award recipients, I ask that everyone hold their applause until all the recipients have been announced. Now, I know that really won't happen, but if you can keep it short. I also ask that each student, as their name is announced, please stand and remain standing until all the prizes have been awarded. First prize. The Rebecca Willow Prize, established in 2008 in memory of Rebecca Willow, class of 1995, is awarded to a student whose presence brings personal integrity and kindness to the community and who unites an interest in human history and culture with a passion for the natural world. And the award goes to Robert Patrick McGee. The Audrey Alley Gorton Award is given in memory of Audrey Gorton, Marlboro alumna and member of the faculty for 33 years, to the student who best reflects the Gorton qualities of passion for reading, an independence of critical judgment, fastidious attention to matters of style, and a gift for intelligent conversation. I love this award. And it goes to Emma Thacker. The Hilly Van Loan Prize, established by the class of 2000 in honor of Hilly Van Loan, Marlboro class of 1962, and staff member for 23 years, is given to the senior who best reflects Hilly's wisdom, compassion, community involvement, quiet dedication to the spirit of Marlboro College, joy in writing, and celebration of life. And is Hilly here today? She comes often, but not today. Okay. And the award goes to Daniel Kala. The William Davison Prize, created by the Town Meeting Select Board and named in honor of Will Davison, who served as a faculty member for 18 years and as a trustee for 22 years, is awarded to one or more students for extraordinary contributions to the Marlboro community. And it goes to David Amato. The Ryan Larson Memorial Prize was established in 2006 in memory of Ryan Jeffrey Larson, who felt transformed by the opportunities to learn and grow within the embrace of the Marlboro College community. It is awarded annually to a junior or senior who best reflects Ryan's qualities of philosophical curiosity, creativity, compassion, and spiritual inquiry. And it goes to Sophia Romeri. The Helen W. Clark Prize is awarded by the Visual Arts faculty for the best plan of concentration in the fine arts. This award has been supported by the generosity of faculty emerita Willeen Clark and her colleagues in the visual arts and across the college in honor of her mother. And the award goes to Patrick Lancaster. The Sally and Valerio Montanari Theater Prize is awarded annually to a graduating senior who has made the greatest overall contribution to the pursuit of excellence in theater production. And it goes to Luke Rosenthal. The Dr. Lauren C. Bronson Award for Excellence in Classics, established by the family of Lauren Bronson, class of 1973, is awarded to encourage undergraduate work in classics, and it goes to Alana Doyle. The Roland W. Boyden Prize is given by the Humanities faculty to a student or students who have demonstrated excellence in the humanities. Roland Boyden was a founding faculty member of the college, acting president, dean, and trustee. There are 3 recipients to this award: Adam Holwitz, Michael Surios, and Marcus Wu. The Buck Turner Prize is awarded to a student who demonstrates excellence in the natural sciences, who uses interdisciplinary approaches, and who places his or her work in the context of larger questions. And there are 2 recipients this year, Allison Wu and Daniel Zagal. The Freshman-Sophomore Essay Prize is given annually for the best essay written for a Marlboro course. And there are 2 winners: Andrew Hart for Pynchon's poem of Preterition, and Kelly Hickey for Thanks to the Mountains, We Are Alive, Communities and Populations in Resistance in Guatemala. The Robert H. MacArthur Prize was established in 1973 in memory of Robert MacArthur, class of 1951, and recently rededicated to Robert and also to John, and to John and Robert's parents, John and Olive MacArthur, who founded the science program at Marlboro College. The contest for the prize is in the form of a question or challenge offered to the entire student community. And is John MacArthur here? Where's John? And there are 3 recipients this year: Aiden Kiva, Christopher Mullaney, and Jonathan Aird with honorable mention. Our last award, the Robert E. Engel Award, established in 2011 in honor of Bob Engel, Marlboro faculty member for 36 years, is awarded to a student who demonstrates Bob's passion for the natural world and his keen powers of observation and inquiry as a natural historian. And is Bob here today? He may not stand up even if he was here. He's kind of hide in the back. There are 2 recipients this year, Anne Hitchcock and Isla Mullen. On behalf of the faculty, I want to offer congratulations to all of our award recipients. And now we will.
Thank you, Richard. Are you ready? Is it time? Fifilo Aganga, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management, Economics, Development Studies, a study of Africa's development history with a focus on Nigeria and financial systems. Sponsors, James Tober, Lynette Rummel, outside evaluator, Jeffrey Bergen, consultant for the World Bank. David William Amato, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies, Urban History, Journalism, essays analyzing how the culture and politics of the post-World War II era shaped the built environment using 3 case studies: new housing and suburbs in inner cities, the landscape of a small Vermont college and town, and the city of Havana. Sponsors, Catherine Ratcliffe, John Sheehy, outside evaluator, Francis Kovares, Amherst College. Molly Geneva Booth, Bachelor of Arts, Writing, Fiction, and Literature, Shakespeare, a study of Shakespeare through fiction writing, textual analysis, historical research, and film. Sponsors T. Hunter Wilson, Paul Nelson, Geraldine Pittman de Baget, outside evaluator Julia Perlowski, Folger Shakespeare Library. Hannah Ruth Brothers, Bachelor of Arts, Dance, Choreography, and Dance Ethnography, a choreographic and anthropological study of West African and contemporary American dance forms. Sponsors, Kristen Horrigan, Carol Hendrickson, outside evaluator, Angie Hauser, Smith College. Jacob Bruck, Bachelor of Arts, Dance and Asian Studies, an analysis of Japanese approaches to improvisation and their relation to contemporary performance. Sponsors, Kristen Horrigan, Seth Harder, outside evaluator, Diane Clouet, independent artist. Lisa Cantoral, Bachelor of Arts, Cultural History, cultural study of the werewolf and the feminine in Little Red Riding Hood and the Twilight series. Sponsors, Dana Howell, John Sheehy, outside evaluator, Joanne Hayes, Greenfield Community College. Casey Lucille Chalbeck, Bachelor of Arts, Asian Studies, International Relations, an examination of the development and purposes of bilateral and multilateral institutions in managing tensions and advancing cooperation in strategic, economic, and energy components of U.S.-China relations. Sponsor, Seth Harder. Outside evaluator, Orion Lewis, Middlebury College. About courage. Gretchen Madeline Chapman, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Visual Arts, an exploration of the themes of community and isolation in 20th century American literature, supported by a sculpture project articulating the same themes. Sponsors John Sheehy, Gloria Biamonte. Timothy Seeker. Outside evaluator, Joanne Hayes, Greenfield Community College. Hannibal Cook, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Cultural History, a study focusing on Eastern Europe, an examination of the articulation of the past and works of Chris and Bulgakov, and through Memorial Space in Budapest. Sponsors, Geraldine Pittman de Baget, Dana Howe, outside evaluator, Laszlo Dienz, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Some of our graduates were not able to attend today. And most are here. Ricardo Daniels, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy and Politics, Political Theory, an inquiry into varied philosophical approaches to human flourishing. Sponsors, William Edelglass, Amr Latif, Meg Mott, outside evaluator, Etan Nasreddin Longo, independent scholar. Nicholas Arthur Dow, Bachelor of Arts, TESOL Certificate, Politics, Middle Eastern Studies, an analysis of Middle Eastern politics with special emphasis on the Arab Spring, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and the Syrian civil war. Sponsors, Lynette Rummel, William Edelglass, outside evaluator, John Ungerleiter, School for International Training. Grace Delaney, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Visual Arts, an examination of medieval and institutionalized violence against Irish women through political theory and visual art. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Kathy Osmond, outside evaluator, Faith Wilding School of Art Institute of Chicago. Eric Raymond Dennis, Bachelor of Arts, Biology, Ecology, and Sculpture. Research into ecological concepts culminating in 3 papers on forest fragmentation and the history of biological dynamics of forest fragmentation, the role of mycorrhizal fungi in biodiversity, and ecological restoration, and sculpture in the light of symbiosis. Sponsors Jennifer Ramstetter, Timothy Seeger, outside evaluator Peter Palmiato, Antioch University, New England. Nora Ann Dunn, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, an exploration of the narrative structures of Marcel Proust and W.G. Sebald with a focus on themes of memory, time, and desire. Sponsors Geraldine Pittman de Baget, Adam Franklin Lyons, outside evaluator Catherine Gouy, Mount Holyoke College. Rose Gay, Bachelor of Arts, Gender Studies and Photography, Visual Arts, a written and artistic exploration of gender variance and gender nonconformity, trans-queer existence, and the future of a nurturing and inclusive trans-queer movement. Sponsors, Carol Hendrickson, John Willis. Outside evaluator, Jules Roscombe, Hampshire College. Benjamin Michael Glatt, Bachelor of Arts, TESOL Certificate, History, World History Curriculum, a 2-year World History curriculum for high school level education with a rationale and evidence of practice teaching. Sponsor Seth Harder, outside evaluator Ellen Lagerman, Bard College. Zebulon Ulysses Gertzel, Bachelor of Arts, Film Video Studies, Music, and Religion, an exploration of aesthetics, spiritual realization, and the nature of reality as expressed in the Gathas of Zarathustra and the life and works of Alexander Scriabin, featuring elements of film, music, translation, and philosophy. Sponsors, Jake Craven, William Edelglass, Amr Latif, Matan Rubenstein, outside evaluator Ted Lyman, University of Vermont. Samantha Clara Grayek, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Cultural History, an examination of spatial and temporal shifts in narrative structure between Charles Dickens' Hard Times and Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, and the relationship of these shifts to World War I, in conjunction with a more experimental research-based piece considering issues of cultural industrialization and entrapment on the Western Front during World War I. Sponsors, Geraldine Pittman de Baget, Dana Howell, Tim Little. Outside evaluator, Michael Huffmaster, University of Puerto Rico. Adam Ezra Halwitz, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy and Literature, a tracking of animal obsessions in works of philosophy, poetry, cultural theory, and psychology. Sponsors, William Edelglass, Gloria Biamonte, outside evaluator, James Hatley, Salisbury College. Cara Helene Hamilton, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies, Asian American Studies in Writing, Radio Journalism. A study of contemporary Asian American activism focusing on Boston's Chinatown, explored through academic writing and original radio journalism. Sponsors, Catherine Radcliffe, Carol Hendrickson, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Lily Kim, Hampshire College. Chester Butler Harper, Bachelor of Arts, History, Intellectual History, an examination of the intellectual influences and trends in European military thought from the military revolution to the early 19th century. Sponsors, Adam Franklin Lyons, Matthew Ollis, outside evaluator, James Ehrman, Norwich University. Justin Sean Harrison, Bachelor of Arts, Film Video Studies, American and World Genre Cinema. A study of genre film and masculinity, focusing on the films of John Carpenter, Sam Peckinpah, Edgar Wright, and Wim Wenders. Sponsors, Jay Craven, John Sheehy, outside evaluator, Glenn Kenny, chief film critic, MSN. Zoe Michelle Holland, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts, Drawing, Sculpture, and Animation, a body of work reflecting paternal effects on the development of self, incorporating animation, sculpture, painting, and drawing. Sponsors, Kathy Osman, Timothy Seeger, outside evaluator, Sue Reese, Bennington College. Richard Allen Iano, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies, U.S. History, an exploration of the contentious history of pluralism in American history through illustrative examples of conflicted Native attitudes towards the other, the struggle of outside groups to negotiate complex cultural spaces in hostile conditions, and the formation of allegiances for mutual benefit in a world of interconnected economic and demographic change. Sponsors, Catherine Radcliffe, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Randall Noper, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Brett Bailey Island, Bachelor of Arts. Religion, Catholic Aesthetics and Music, Contemporary Catholic Music. An analysis of Catholic conservative values in 20th century music and art, focusing on the theological and practical foundations of a Catholic aesthetic. Sponsors, Amr Latif, Stan Sharkey, outside evaluator, Etan Nasreddin Longo, independent scholar. Elizabeth Ann Jaffe, Bachelor of Arts, Environmental Studies, Marine Ecology and Photography, a study of how tourism and development affect the sandy shore ecosystem on the eastern shore of Maryland through a paper and a photography exhibit. Sponsors, Jennifer Ramstetter, Jamie Tanner, John Willis. Outside evaluator, Carol Berner, Smith College. Daniel Thomas Calla, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management and TESOL Certificate. Liberal Studies, Education and Prison Studies. an interdisciplinary examination of prisons, punishment, schools, and education in the form of a prison studies and restorative justice curriculum, and supplementary papers addressing punishment, prison statistics, synthetic thinking, and a language immersion education model. Sponsors, Thomas Tolino, Matthew Ollis, Catherine Rickenbacker. Outside evaluator, Catherine Woolner, Amherst College. Catherine Keefe, Bachelor of Arts, Theater, an investigation of diverse adaptations of selected Shakespeare plays, including Henry V, Much Ado About Nothing, and Romeo and Juliet. Sponsor, Paul Nelson. Outside evaluator, Edward Iser, College of the Holy Cross. Patrick Albert Lancaster, Bachelor of Arts, Photography, Critical Theory, and Visual Arts, an exploration of the tensions which emerge within the dominant structure of artist and artwork, focusing specifically on theories surrounding authorship, materiality, and various modes of display through the use of photography. Sponsors, John Willis, Dana Howell. Outside evaluator, Jonathan Gittleson, Keene State College. Alexander Louis Lasorte, Bachelor of Science, Biochemistry, Gene Therapy, a study of gene therapy, including a review paper on using gene therapy to treat a hereditary disease leading to blindness, and a self-designed laboratory experiment on the manipulation of plasmids as an analog for gene therapy. Sponsors, Todd Smith, Jennifer Ramstetter. Outside evaluator, Tenley C. Archer, Boston Children's Hospital, and Harvard Medical School. Aimé René Latour, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy and Politics, Political Theory. The development of a secular existential ethics employing concepts from Heidegger, Beauvoir, and Camus. Sponsors, William Edelglass, Meg Mott. Outside evaluator, Eric Nelson, University of Massachusetts, Lowell.
Excuse me. Emma Bailey Loftus, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management, Cultural History, Urban Studies, a discussion of considerations of public space in state-sponsored urban planning. Fieldwork from Cairo, Egypt, is drawn upon in an examination of the impact of commerce and consumer behavior in appropriations of space, and how such impacts were anticipated by planners of former Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser's regime, 1952-1970. Sponsors, Felicity Rattay, Lynette Rummel, Dana Howell. Outside evaluator, Nasser Rabat, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Catherine Elizabeth Lyon, Bachelor of Science, Biology and Visual Arts, an exploration of biomimicry and ecological design combined with artwork that incorporates and challenges science and structure. Sponsors Jennifer Ramstetter, Timothy Seeger. Outside evaluator Jessica Cooney, Green Mountain College. Robert Patrick Maggie, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies and Economics, a study of how U.S. agricultural policy has encouraged farm growth and centralization over the past 80 years at the expense of a more diversified food economy. Sponsors Catherine Ratcliffe, James Tober. Outside evaluator, Vern Grubinger, University of Vermont.
Congratulations. Maggie and Maggie. Close enough.
Malachi Noah Malloy, Bachelor of Science, Environmental Studies, Energy Analysis, a study of energy in the 21st century, including the history and limitations of fossil fuels and a discussion of alternative energy for the transitional era. Sponsors Todd Smith, Jennifer Ramstetter, outside evaluator Stephen Roof, Hampshire College. Robin Joy Manning Samuels, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology and Literature, an exploration of moral development and vigilantism from psychological and literary perspectives, focusing especially on portrayals of justice in American popular culture. Sponsors Thomas Tolino, John Sheehy, outside evaluator, Linda Whiten, developmental consultant, photographer. Joshua Zane Patrick McAloon, Bachelor of Arts, Photography and Cultural History, an analytical and visual interpretation of the role which post-industrial ruination plays in altering America's social landscape. Sponsors John Willis, Dana Howell. Outside evaluator Thomas Young, Greenfield Community College. Emma Marie McCammett, Bachelor of Arts, Biology, Reproductive Biology, a review of the effects of endocrine disruptors on human reproductive health and an analysis of patterns of female fertility in various countries around the world. Sponsor Jamie Tanner, outside evaluator, Laura Vandenberg, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Michael MacGyver, Bachelor of Arts, Religion and Painting, an interdisciplinary exploration of the Abraham story in the Hebrew Bible. Sponsors Amr Latif, Sean Harrigan, Kathy Osman. Outside evaluator, Nathan Margalit, Mount Holyoke College. Ayla Rose Mullen, Bachelor of Arts, Politics, Environmental Political Thought, and Ceramics, an interdisciplinary study of ecological citizenship. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Martina Lanton, outside evaluator, Christy Herbert, Landmark College. James Alexander Munoz, Bachelor of Arts, History, Latin American Studies, an investigation into institutional morphology, focusing on colonial Mexican silver mining prior to the Spanish Empire's decline. Sponsors, Rosario de Swanson, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Rick Lopez, Amherst College. Byron James Musanti, Bachelor of Arts, Biochemistry, Protein Engineering, an investigation into laboratory techniques for genetic engineering of enzymes, the applications of these techniques to rational molecular design and laboratory project on site-directed mutagenesis of human carbonic anhydrase 2. Sponsors, Todd Smith, Jamie Tanner, outside evaluator, Anthony Bishop, Amherst College. Elias Orstrom, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Biology, a study on how memetrics describes the interactions between different political ideologies and the success of liberal democracy. Sponsors Meg Mott, Jamie Tanner, outside evaluator, Robert Engel, Marlboro College, Emeritus. Pierce Sains Pinch, Bachelor of Arts, Photography, Cultural Studies, an examination of the emergence of travel photography from British landscape painting and the subsequent influence on the industry of tourism. Sponsors John Willis, Seth Harder. Outside evaluator, Jim Dow, Tufts University and the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. John Clayton Rixey, Bachelor of Arts, Sociology, Nationalism and Globalization, and Languages, Latin American Studies, and Spanish. Between cultural homogenization and the cultural heterogenization, globalization, and nationalism in the contemporary world. Sponsors, Rosario de Swanson, Catherine Rickenbacker, outside evaluator, Patricia Gubitozzi, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Jacob Ezra Roberts, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science, Algorithms. A general study of computer science with a focus on algorithmic chess. Sponsor, Jim Mahoney, outside evaluator, Mark Francelon, consultant. Catherine Jean Roche Sudar. Oh, that's fine, I missed it. Bachelor of Arts, Literature, Fairy Tales and Dance, Choreography. A study of fairy tales with a focus on narrative through text and dance. Sponsors Geraldine Pittman-Dabage, Kristen Horrigan, outside evaluator, Cynthia McLaughlin, independent artist. Sophia Gazelle Romeri, Bachelor of Arts, Dance and Asian Studies, Flow Studies, a study of the relationships between flow, creativity, optimal performance, and happiness, explored in dance, writing, and Taoist philosophy. Sponsors Kristen Horrigan, Seth Harder, outside evaluator, Melinda Buckwalter, Wesleyan University. Lucas James Rosenthal, Bachelor of Arts, Theater. An exploration of the concepts of power and betrayal in an adaptation and production of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Sponsors Brenda Foley, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Alexandra Picard, New England College. Elizabeth Catherine Rudiger, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management. Politics, Political Theory, an investigation of obstacles to and opportunities for political action, focusing on Oakland, California, and Shakespeare's Hamlet. Sponsors Meg Mott, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Bridget Hines, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Lindsay Grace Rundlet, Bachelor of Arts, Gender Studies, a study of social, historical, and performative constructions of madness in the United States, with an emphasis on gender and the creation of unequal power relationships in the diagnosis and treatment of mental illness. Sponsors Catherine Ratcliffe, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Lisa Sanders, Hampshire College. Michael Campbell Schneewatz, Bachelor of Arts, Ceramics, Sculpture and Philosophy, Buddhist Studies, a plan of concentration in ceramics and Buddhist studies. Sponsors Martina Lanton, William Edelglass. Outside evaluator, Malcolm Wright, ceramic artist. Diploma granted by his mother. Great last name. Erin Moray Schwartz, Bachelor of Arts, Economics and Sociology, Data Analysis. When Necessity is the Mother of Invention, a dialogue on innovation in response to crisis. Sponsors James Tober, Matthew Ollis, Catherine Rickenbacker. Outside evaluator, Gerald Friedman, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Andrew Christopher Schoff, Bachelor of Science, Chemistry, Future Energy Systems, an exploration of the development of modern technology and its effect on possible future methods of energy production to sustain a rapidly changing civilization. Sponsor Todd Smith, outside evaluator Brian Anderson, Keene State College. Sarah Ako Sieber, Bachelor of Arts, Writing, Poetry, and Sociology, an exploration of the War on Terror and the U.S. treatment of terrorism as practice, ideology, and aesthetic, with a specific focus on Abu Ghraib prison. Sponsors Catherine Rickenbacker, T. Hunter Wilson, outside evaluator, Kate Marvin, College of Staten Island, CUNY. Michael Christopher Sorois, Bachelor of Arts, TESOL certificate, Languages, Comparative Syntax, and Historical Linguistics, a series of papers that employ and examine contemporary diachronic syntactic theory through case studies of Old, Middle, and Modern English, Prince Edward Island French, and a number of the older Germanic languages. Sponsors Grant Lee, Emily Alling, outside evaluator James Cathy, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Emma Catherine Thacker, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies and Literature, an exploration of the charged intersections of memory, commemoration, race, and history in the United States, with a focus on selected novels by Faulkner and Morrison and media representations of the civil rights movement. Sponsors Catherine Ratcliffe, Gloria Biamonte, Geraldine Pittman de Baget. Outside evaluator Jules Chametsky, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Anna Lucia Yulin, Bachelor of Arts, Art History, American Studies, Dance Studies, a study of how femininity is constructed as a visual signifier in historical painting, print, media, and dance. Sponsors Felicity Rattay, Kristen Horrigan, Catherine Ratcliffe, outside evaluator, Sarah Smith, interdisciplinary artist. Kirsten Elizabeth Whiting, Bachelor of Arts, TESOL certificate, Visual Arts and Asian Studies, a visual and analytical investigation of fantasy and feminine identity in contemporary Japanese culture. Sponsors Timothy Seeger, Seth Harder. Outside evaluator Joseph Smith, Mount Holyoke College. Allison Maylin Wu, Bachelor of Arts, Biology, Public Health and Asian Studies, Chinese Medicine. An investigation of the human papillomavirus, HPV, and acceptability of the HPV vaccine among young women in China, with an emphasis on Chinese herbal medicine as one influencing factor. Sponsors Jamie Tanner, Seth Harder. Outside evaluator, Susan Fetzer, University of New Hampshire. Marcos Wu, Bachelor of Arts, Religion, Mormon Studies, a study of biblical hermeneutics pertaining to the early desert Christian fathers and the Latter-day Saint Mormon Church. Sponsors Amr Latif, William Edeglass, outside evaluator, David Clem, University of Iowa. And last but no means least, Daniel Zagal, Bachelor of Science, Chemistry, Pharmacognosy and Science Writing, Herbal Medicine and Cancer Research, a study of the pharmacological properties of hops and stinging nettle. Sponsors Todd Smith, Kyle Lingard, outside evaluator, Paul Bowers, Keene State College.
And now, by the power invested in us by the State of
Vermont and the Board of Trustees, we now declare you graduates of Marlboro College.
You may We are so proud of you. Before our final words, I want to ask you all to remain seated until after the valediction and the recessional, and then please join us just up the hill in the dining hall for celebration and refreshments. I'm very, very pleased and moved to introduce for our valediction, Abdelhadi Izem.
Thank you all. What a pleasure for me to be here, to be standing here. When I was invited to make this valediction speech, I immediately said yes. And then I went to check what the word valediction meant. So the first thing I did, I went to Wikipedia. Yeah, and I was not satisfied with the answer I got. What it said was not to be confused with malediction. So, yeah, I was not satisfied with that. So I asked some faculty members, some friends, and I managed to get an idea what it should be about. So thank you, Ellen, for letting me take part in this special occasion. I still remember the first time I arrived at Marlboro. It was a Saturday morning, and here I should take a moment to thank Chelsea Farrell, Director of International Services, for being very helpful in the first couple of weeks. From the very beginning, I fell in love with Marlboro, and I thank God I was placed here. I love the trees and learned the names. I love the buildings. I learned the view from my window. I like to play soccer with my friends. I love everything here. I will never forget the day I broke my ski poles in the Windle Cup. Yeah. I had only skied once before, and still I decided to take part in the race. Well, I got lost. I deviated from the trail for a while and got lost. I broke my ski poles, which slowed me down, but I didn't want to give up. I said, Abdel, you didn't sign up to start the race, you signed up to finish the race. So I managed to finish the whole loop, and guess what? I was not the last. Yeah. Well, the reason why I chose to speak about this race is that it makes me think of you seniors. I know that working on your plans was not that easy. So I know that some of you really skied smoothly and made it to the end, but some of you had to struggle. I mean, there were times when you feel like you want to quit. There were times when you got lost, just like me. But you made it, and you should be very proud of yourself. By this time tomorrow, I'm going to head back home with a lot of memories to share with family and friends. But I really would like to thank all members of the Marlboro community for being such inspiring people. And I would like to thank them for making this year the best of my life. I really, only God knows how much I love Marlboro community. The last thing I would like to do, and it's really very important for me, is I want to take a selfie with this inspiring yeah. And I brought a camera. I'm not sure.